Hello and welcome to another video. It's been a while, but I hope to do a few more of these live streams that just turn into videos on my channel, answering some of the common questions that I get asked and that come across the Odin Project Discord channel. And today I want to be giving a few thoughts on when you should start applying for your first developer role. I think there's a perfect answer for this, but these are just some of my thoughts, my experience, that may hopefully give you some insight on answering that question. So I know a lot of people start studying and you start learning some HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and you're wondering when is that point that I'm ready. I don't think there's a concrete line in the sand that you cross and all of a sudden you're ready to become a junior developer in a company. I think every company requires a certain combination of skills, and every person has a different set of skills. But there are some fundamental technological understanding concepts that you probably want to have before you start applying. So some of these things are basic understanding of fundamentals of HTML, CSS, and a programming language like JavaScript, Ruby, Python, whatever it is that you're studying, and how to use those programming languages in the kind of 80-20 principle. What are the 20% of things within that language? What 20% of syntax is going to do 80% of the work? So these, just simple things like loops, your data structures, iterating through these data structures, ternary operators, all these different kinds of things that you'll come across in web development. These are the basic things that you want to understand. I see I have someone here watching me live, so hello to whoever that is. So I think once you have these fundamentals down, then you might be ready. There's some other things like version control, Git, GitHub, using those. What the workflow might look like in a company is you make a branch, you make commits to that branch, you'll submit a PR. Well, you'll probably want to get the test suite passing first, then submit your PR for review, and then you're going to want to make changes to that code. So understanding how that flow works and basics of Git, again, the 80-20 on Git, what are the 20% of those commands that are going to get you most of the way there? That's very important. Debugging is a skill I cannot understate. If you know how to debug your way through an application, you will be, I think, further ahead than a lot of other juniors. Debugging is the one thing that I really had to improve on during my time at FreshBooks. It is fundamental, especially as a junior. You're going to be debugging most of the time. In the beginning, things always break, and you need to know how to fix those things. I think also knowing how to work well with other people. So when you're a junior, you're going to have questions. You're going to be there to learn. I think every employer understands that, but it's how you learn. It's how much initiative you take when you get there, and what kind of questions that you ask that will really, let's say, make or break or set the impression of you as a junior. And if you're resourceful and you can find answers to your own questions, great. And when you do have questions, showing that you've put in a lot of time and effort to try and answer it without spinning your wheels for too long. I mean, you don't want to be sitting there for 3-4 hours without any results, but going to the senior and saying, hey, look, I've got this problem, and explaining it very clearly. These are the things I'm thinking might be wrong. These might be the next steps that I want to take. It shows them that you've taken some initiative in how to solve that problem. And they will be much more willing to help you and invest some time in helping you because they think, okay, this person's actually wanting to learn and is not just leaning on me as a crutch. So these are some of the fundamental things I think you need to have under your belt before you start applying for jobs as a junior developer. Once you have those, like I said, there's no line in the sand that's a perfect yes or no or black and white answer. But once you feel like you've developed some of these skills, and through the Odin project, you will definitely develop some of these skills in the projects that you're building. Then you can start, let's say, applying for jobs with some confidence. Now, caveat to that is some people do manage to get a job after just foundations with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And these might be jobs where you are managing a website, front end website management, basic stuff. Maybe it's in WordPress, maybe it's a CMS, where, let's say, you're in a big organization like the government, and that might be enough, and that's great. I just seen the comments here. Yes, definitely practice debugging, Luke. It is one of those things that, like I said, you're going to need to do it, and the faster and quicker and better you get at debugging, the easier your life will become as a developer, as at least what I've learned anyway. So yeah, some people do manage to get jobs really early on in the Odin project, though I think they are few and far between, and they're not your typical developer jobs. They're more kind of web management jobs. But that's great if that's what you're going for. It's a foot in the door. It could be a great tactic to get a job in kind of that web maintenance field that will then give you more exposure to the industry while you're studying. I think that's a great way to go if you can do it. A lot of people, though, it seems in the Discord, recommend getting to the end of Node.js or the end of the Ruby on Rails path before you start considering applying for jobs, because by that time you've got a lot of the kind of full stack fundamentals practiced. You should understand HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Ruby, object-oriented programming, as well as working, consuming, building APIs in a very basic form. What RESTful API is, how the request response cycle works, and using HTTP for doing that. These basic web fundamentals, working with forms, setting out basic layouts on pages. These are all fundamentals that you should know before you start applying. One way to think of it as well is companies are going to hire you because they need a problem solving. And that problem usually is they need a feature building, they need some code refactoring, they got some technical debt that needs fixing, or a host of other reasons. Now, they will only hire someone who they think is going to come in and help solve that problem. So it's unrealistic to think that without this fundamental skill set and in your tool belt, that you'd be able to do that. With the caveat being, as a junior, you are expected to learn as well. So I think one of the best things that you can show in an interview and in your online presence is a real enthusiasm for learning and a drive for learning, because that's going to give someone the confidence that, okay, even though you don't know as much as a mid or a senior level, you're hungry and you're going to want to learn those things. So that's another thing that I'd recommend. For me personally, I started applying for jobs when I was near the end of the Rails module. And I think what clinched me the job, the internship that I got at FreshBooks, was I started building my final Rails project. Now, in the Odin project, your final Rails project is a social media clone, it's a good project. It's strong. But everybody builds a social media clone, and I really wanted to build something that had some real world value and was a production application. So that I hadn't launched my app at the point when I was in the interview for my FreshBooks internship, but I was so damn passionate about that app. I think just oozed passion, for lack of a better term, during my interview. I was so excited about it. And I had so much to say about it. And I think the interviewer could pick up on that. And I think it really helped give them the confidence that I was someone who was going to make a great intern, someone who was really hungry and willing to learn. And again, that app is something that it's pretty simple now, but it's coming a long way. And it's something I just got a new job as a Rails developer. And it also, again, I think helped me secure that role, because when you have a working production application, it shows that the code actually works and that you've turned a real world problem into logic. And you can go through that process and thinking through, how am I going to solve a problem with code? That's a really, really good way to set yourself apart. Now, you don't have to do that. It's hard to come up with a simple enough project that's going to do that. I think the Odin projects are very good. But if someone was going to ask me my advice, I would say set yourself apart with an application that's got a real world value to it or context. It's 10 minutes now. I want to keep these short, but I'm going to be doing more of these in the future. I plan to just answer some of the common questions that I'm getting. Another common one is around open source, how to get involved in open source. I highly recommend doing that. That's something I did as well. And I'm going to also make a video about my journey ending at FreshBooks and how I found this new job that I have now during these crazy times. And I'll give you a hint, it wasn't through job applications. It was all through networking. But I'm going to end it there. To the two of you that are watching, thanks for hopping on. If you have any questions, throw them in now. Yeah, Luke, thanks for your comments. You're building a MERN app related to playing golf. Yeah, definitely look into open source. And yeah, thank you. I really appreciate your congrats. And honestly, I think anybody who's hungry enough will be able to do it. The one thing I can say for sure is that I was very hungry, and I wasn't going to take no for an answer. So that just meant many hours really grinding through this stuff to get to a point where I think I showed enough value to potential employers. But throw some, if you have any questions, throw them down beneath this video, and I'd love to make some videos with my opinions on answering those questions. Certainly not the only opinions you should be seeking, but it's just data for you. And I've gone from being self-taught to landing my own Rails developer job, full-time, remote, kind of the thing that you want to land, right? So I think I have some wisdom to share. But anyway, take care, everyone. Have a good weekend, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.